Folks, do you really need to sell? I'll explain what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending July the 9th, 2025. If you want to speak directly with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description is a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. You know, from time to time, I speak with homeowners that have a lot of equity in their home, but they've also accumulated a lot of debt. And some of them are going to want to sell in order to relieve their debt. The most recent experience, a gentleman called me, said, Santo, we're looking to sell. Can you talk to us about that? So I meet him and his wife at their home. They show me around the property. It's a beautiful home. They've got a really, really beautiful detached property, lots of really nice things inside. There was this big, beautiful grand piano, high-end appliances, lots of expensive toys in the garage. And so we're sitting at the kitchen table, and I tell them, you got a beautiful home here. Why are you looking to sell? And they said, yeah, we really like the home a lot, and we've been here for many years, but we also have a ton of debt. Our credit cards are maxed out. Our lines of credit are maxed out. Our credit is now shot because we're having a hard time staying on top of this. They also went on to say, we realized that we could probably pull more money out of the equity we have in our home, but we feel we're trading one debt for another, and we just want a break from just owing money. And their whole plan is to sell. They're going to rent in the same neighborhood, the same type of home, pay off all their debts, but they're going to have money in the bank left over, and then they'll figure things out down the road. I quickly pull up what rentals for a home like that would be in the neighborhood. I've got my laptop with me, and I show them that renting a home like theirs is going to cost monthly significantly more than what their mortgage payment is. And they said, you know, we understand that, but we just want a clean slate. We want to start fresh. So, okay. Now, I've experienced homeowners in this situation before, and I find a homeowner with this situation, lots of equity, but also has a ton of debt. They go down two paths. They got two choices they can make here. One is like this family that I'm explaining to you about. They just want sell, instant relief right now, short term. But I find, because I've seen this scenario play out also, not just being in it, but down the road, I find that this family, this type of situation, many of these homeowners don't necessarily change how they manage money, and in no time at all find themselves with no home and no money. They're in a similar or worse situation down the road. Whereas the other type of homeowner is kind of going to do the opposite. Selling is like the absolute furthest thing from their mind. They will do everything possible to not sell. They will do everything possible, fight tooth and nail, to hold on to their home. And they realize that this home is their safety net. So selling is just not an option to them. And those people in that scenario that I've seen play out, I find a lot of them learn to manage money differently through that. And in that struggle, on the other side of that, when they make it through, they have home and money and a better relationship with how they handle money. They're way better off. Now, it's not going to be easy, but that's what I've seen in my experience. So the takeaway from all this, from my experience, if you're in a scenario where those homeowners in a scenario with a small mortgage, high property value, so there's a bunch of equity there, lots of equity, if they get rid of all that, it's very, very difficult to ever get back into that situation again. And you do need a place to live for the rest of your life. Whereas those homeowners that fight tooth and nail to keep their home and they see their home as selling as a last resort, if they manage to get through the struggle, they're almost always way better off. Now, if you were in this situation, what would you do? Let me know in the comments below. If you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. There's lots to talk about today. Before I get specifically into the city of Toronto, I want to talk about power of sales. Look, power of sales, they're up. They're way up. When we compare January to June this year versus last year, power of sales are up 65%. That's this year versus 2024. If we compare to 2023, they're up even more than that. But just this year to last year, they're up 65%. The blue, that's last year. The orange, those are this year's power of sales. Let's look at monthly data. Now, this is just for the city of Toronto, for detached properties only. I've got multiple months on the board. The black, that's highlighted, what's highlighted in black, both for sales and average price, that's just for the month of June. And we're comparing June all the way, we're going back to June 2021. So we're going back a few years, from 2025 to 2021. Let's look at sales for a second. If we look at each year, the month with the most amount of sales, it's not June, except for this year. So far, well, we don't know July and August yet, but if we look at history, we expect July and August to have fewer sales. However, if we look back at the multiple years back, for 2021, March was the month that had the most amount of sales. 2022 was March. For 2023, it was May. 2024, it was May. Not this year. June shows the most amount of sales in 1 year. However, we're seeing fewer sales. Well, that's actually tough to say. Sales are up and down. We actually have more sales this year than the previous year, but really close to 2023 sales. So let's talk about average sold price. Average sold price is down. We're going back to, well, if we compare to just last year, average sold price is 6.6% lower than where we were last year. This year, for June, the average sold price is $1,642,000, down 6.6% from last year, down 8.2% from 2023, down 5.6% from 2022, and so forth. We can go back. From peak, we're down 21% from when we're at peak pricing. If we go back further, compared to 2019, the current price is 23% higher than where we were in 2019. I skipped 2020 because it was a crazy year, health crisis, all that. So I skipped 2020, but from 2019, current average sold price is up 23%. So if you bought in the last few years, generally speaking, prices are down. If you bought 2020 or earlier, 2019, you're way up on average sold price. Let's get more specifically to what we report on every single week. This is average sold price broken down by week for week ending July the 9th. This is just for City of Toronto. I'm comparing detached prices, semis, towns. I do have condo average sold prices, but we're not looking at condos on this show. We're looking at tomorrow. We're going to be focused on condos on tomorrow's show. But there's a huge difference. Average price for condos, $667. Average detached price for week ending July 9th, $1,618,000. Huge price difference in average prices. So, detached prices for the city of Toronto for week ending July 9th, 146 detached properties were sold. 30 of those sold at $2 million or more. Now, sales did bounce up, but keep in mind the previous week was a long weekend, and I know what some of you are going to say, what does that have to do with it? Look at history. Often, not every time, but often on long weekends, we do see a dip in sales. We see a dip in volume and activity. But overall, sales are trending downwards, which is also typical at some point past the spring into at some point once we hit July and August, sales tend to trend downwards. Average sold price is sitting at $1,618,000. Overall, though, trending downward. Compared to last year, 1,618 is 2% higher. The median price of $1,333,000 is 3% higher. The dotted line, when I say 3% higher, higher than where it was the same week a year ago. The dotted line, it's a 4-week moving average. Both average price and median price trending downwards. 146 were sold. 29% of those sold at list price or more. That percentage overall is trending downwards. Listings overall were trending down or are trending downwards, but they are up from the previous week. The previous week was a long weekend. I'm going to bring that up a few times now. Of all the active listings, of all the properties available for sale, but detached properties only, we sold basically 5.1% during this week of all the properties available for sale. So roughly 95% did not sell. There are 2,849 available for sale detached properties in the city of Toronto. And months of inventory overall is climbing. We're now sitting at 4.6 months of inventory. So that's the whole city. Let's break things down into 9 different parts of the city, 9 different, overall neighborhoods. And if we say 4.6 is for the whole city, well, there's certain areas performing better than that. Scarborough, for example, it's at 3.5 months of inventory. Etobicoke, 3.8 months of inventory. Weston Yorkdale, 3.5. East York, Riverdale, very aggressive there, although we're at 3 months of inventory. Normally, in the past, when we'd say it's very aggressive, you're thinking of 2 months of inventory, 1.5 months of inventory. These days, higher than 2.5 to 3, 3.5. It's fairly aggressive these days. It's a different world today. But Beaches, Riverdale, East York, 3 months of inventory. So that's the whole city still. Let's look at things from a different perspective. Let's look at 3-bedroom detached homes versus 4-bedroom detached homes. We're going to start off with 3 bedrooms for week ending July the 9th. 77 3-bedroom detached homes were sold. Average sold price is $1,355,000. Overall, average sold price has been trending down. The last couple of weeks, though, prices are bouncing around a little bit, so it's hard to pinpoint that. But compared to last year, $1,355,000 is 1% lower. Here's the 4-bedroom. 41 4-bedroom properties were sold, and average sold price trending down, but currently sitting at $1,969,000. So there's a big difference when we compare 3 bedrooms to 4 bedrooms. The 4 bedrooms average sold price is 1% higher than where we were this time a year ago. And here's the comparison. The orange, those are 3 bedrooms. The blue, that's 4 bedrooms. Well, you could see here easily the 3-bedroom sales by far outperform the 4-bedroom sales. A lot of that has to do with the price point, right? The 3-bedroom price point, $1,355,000. You have to add $614,000 to get to the average price of the 4-bedroom, which is just under $2 million for the average 4-bedroom. So big difference in price there. City of Toronto, still semi-detached properties. For week ending July 9th, 46 semis were sold. 14 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price for semis seems to be on an upward trend. Compared to last year, the average sold price for semis is $1,358,000, which is 10% higher than this time a year ago. The median price of $1,250,000 is also 10% higher year over year, and both median and average price look like they're trending upwards. Months of inventory for semis sitting at 3 months of inventory, and that looks like it's climbing. Here's townhouses. These are freehold townhouses. Sales trending down, but for week ending July the 9th, 20 freehold townhouses sold. One of them sold at $1,500,000 or more, and average price trending down. We're now sitting at $1,114,000. 1114 is 24% lower. It's a crazy number, I know. The median price, though, is at $1,037,000 is 1% higher year over year. But overall, both average and median are trending downwards. Months of inventory for townhouses is sitting at 3. Here's the overall months of inventory. You've got all detached properties at 4.6, but that's really broken down between 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. You can see the 4 bedrooms is 6.1. Big difference between the 3 bedrooms at 3.3. And then you have semis and towns both at 3. Pretty much a balanced market in most cases. But man, you're gonna have that in your head, and you're gonna either put your home on the market or you're gonna go out shopping, and you're gonna experience some competition, or you're going to experience a buyer's market. Price point, location, all that plays into it as to what your experience is going to be out there. I'm trying to give you a pretty good idea, but still overall, generally speaking, is what I'm speaking about. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.